I'll read. This is issue 1 of a Silver Surfman miniseries, which co-stars nostalgia for the sake of nostalgia. It also co-stars Captain Marbles, the real one, Genis-Vell, but you won't recognise him because the nostalgia is set to back before he had much of a character. This is by Ron Marz and Ron Lee, the creative team of 90s Silver Surfman comics. And speaking of things from the past, I do not like when my Marvel comics dedicate things to dead creators because it seems insincere. It is totally corporate mourning. This is a public face, one of honour and tribute. There's no actual feeling. It's phony, and it is here because it makes them look good. Beyond that, there are still a lot of mopes and moans for this issue. I cannot see this Silver Surfman miniseries and things like this as anything but cynical. We are pandering to people, and this would be up my alley. Let me say, I have plenty of Ron Marz Silver Surfman stories. I am a big fan of Ron Lee's art. I love Captain Marbles, the real one, Genis-Vell. In fact, I even bought this variant cover for an issue of Captain Marbles, the shit one, Smelly Brie Larson's, because it had Captain Marbles, the real one, Genis-Vell on the cover. And I thought I would keep it secret from you, but I've had this for 2 years now. Gonna hang it on a wall or something. I never will, but that's what I say I'm gonna do. The thing is, this is totally needless. Is there nostalgia for Ron Marz and Ron Lee Silver Surfman stories? Is there enough to demand multiple miniseries? Or is it just the case that they are two people who Mar-Vell can currently get to do a comic, and the best solution is to package it as a throwback? Ron Marz wrote loads of Silver Surfman, and even back then, his heart was only in about half the issues he did. He was, back then, the equivalent of a consolation prize for Jim Starman fans. He would write all the books that Jim Starman got bored with, and he would write them okay. If this creative team truly had more Silver Surfman stories in them, they would have already told them. There was never a lack of opportunity. There was nothing stopping them from doing this 30 years ago, or 20 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 5 years ago. Instead, now, they apparently have a story to tell, and we are ganning back in time and doing a bunch of miniseries set in the 90s. And by design, nothing actually has consequence outside of its own personal vacuum that it has created for itself. I'll explain actually. This is the third miniseries. The first one was Silver Surfman. It ran for 5 issues. Then there was Alan Watson. That ran for 5 issues as well. And then there was this one, which is, well, it is suggested and it is titled to be Captain Marbles, the real one, Genis-Vell. But he ends up irrelevant, and it is another generic Ron Marz lazy Silver Surfman story. I have read all 3 of them. They are readable. They are completely unimpressive. This is the only one I bought, and I only bought it because I thought, hey, I can whip out the blanket and put it on the couch to somewhat critique and mock this ridiculous notion of self-congratulatory nostalgia. Oh, and we will be coming to Ron Marsgirl and his unawareness of things that have already been done in the Marvel universe. But she is not in this issue, so she gets off lightly. The stories are thin. They are what I call speedrun comics. You can get through them very fast. There's not much meat, and it's not a case of decompression. It is purely a comic that is both sparse on plot and dialogue. Ron Lee's art still has some charm, but the modern colouring, it really sucks some of the life out of that. Well, that's the point I wasn't even going to make. If we are going back to the 90s and feeling nostalgic for 90s comics, why are we still using modern digital techniques on the art? Shouldn't we be using flats and stuff like that to make it actually look like the Silver Surfman comics from the 90s? I wasn't even going to make that point. The thing is, Mar-Vell actually haven't done a Silver Surfman ongoing in a few years. If you are a fan of the character, this is what you have to go with. This is what you're getting. Some at Mar-Vell are trying to tell you to feel nostalgia for. And really, there is no other reason this exists. It is entirely hinging itself on you liking 90s Silver Surfman, or you liking what they tell you to like, or you preferring what they claim was the style of comics back then, which translates to minimal writing and minimal ideas. Actually, case in point, up until now, has anyone ever regarded fucking Cap Wolf as something besides a punchline? What plot we have here is Captain Marbles, the real one, Genis-Vell, he uses one of the Affinity Gems to go back in time and see his dad, Captain Marbles, the real one, Mar-Vell, back when he was alive and not dead. Brings us neatly to further criticism. This story has been done. Ron Marsgirl is so indulgent and not interested. He isn't acknowledging anyone else ever wrote Genis-Vell. David Peter and Jim Starman did a fantastic issue with him meeting his dad. We don't need to see it again, and we don't need to have it inserted into his backstory, completely making that issue no longer special. Not just that though, David Peter had him meet his dad a second time. Ron Marsgirl's approach to Captain Marbles, the real one, Genis-Vell, is maybe the worst thing because he is repeating ideas that other writers have done, and they are such obvious beats that Ron Marsgirl should recognise that someone else has probably done them before. But he's just ignoring them. He doesn't care what happened with Genis-Vell after he stopped writing them in the 90s. It doesn't matter if this character's relationship with his dad was heavily explored and contextualised later on. No, Ron Marsgirl, he didn't say any of that himself, so it doesn't count towards anything. Let's crowbar into continuity Ron Marsgirl's lazy and lesser version of events and call it nostalgia. I think the thing that might surprise people is how down on this I am. I reckon some people have the completely wrong take on me and think I just want comics to be like they used to be. No, this is terrible. This is at best going backwards, and at worst fucking deluded, mass-marketed member berries. I am the market for this comic, and I find it infuriating. There is no greater criticism to this story than the fact that Mar-Vell felt such a lack of confidence in this creative team that they didn't simply allow them to tell a Silver Surfer story without setting it in the past. Oh, it is Satan. Satan is the bad guy. Never seen Ron Marz write a Silver Surfer story with this bad guy before, have we? I really do disagree with this. Mar-Vell are doing a lot of bollocks like this. There's dozens of Spider-Man ones. There's David Peters Spider-Man nostalgia books. There's Jim Tomata's Spider-Man nostalgia books. There's David Miscellaneous Venom nostalgia books. Ghost Driver nostalgia books. Excellent Man. Wolfman. Christopher Clairvoyant nostalgia books. There is fucking... Who the fuck has nostalgia for bad 90s Daredevil? Oh, it's just a bit of fun for the old fans. No, it isn't. Mar-Vell are a company. They didn't release this as a bit of fun. They released it as a product to lure and trick people into buying it because they remember something, or they buy into the idea that these 90s Silver Surfer comics were anything greater than acceptable. Rubbish. Completely pathetic. If you like this kind of stuff, you do realise Mar-Vell are treating it as a gimmick and a novelty. They are laughing at you. They think this isn't proper comics. This is something off to the side that doesn't count. Nobody is wrong to get some enjoyment out of these things, but I can't because they are completely asinine and pointless. These Silver Surfer ones strongly showcase that Mar-Vell truly have mastered the art of purposeless comics. As I said, I've read all these Silver Surfer ones. I've read some of the Spider-Man ones, and maybe even liked some of the Excellent Men ones, the Lewis Simon and Simon Waltonson ones. It is okay to enjoy these. They are naturally better than a lot of bad comics, but it is a sad indictment of where the industry is that they are resorting to so much of this. 7 thumbs up.